everyone, so welcome back to the 11th episode of CEED Strategies 2026. I mean, I cannot believe we have come so far this time, and I hope that my videos have been really useful for you. And this probably will be the second last video before CEED exam, which is 2 weeks from now. So I hope you guys are very all the very best and keep practicing till then and just chill out. Don't worry much about all the things around you. Just focus on one thing, which is your aim, your goal, and it will happen for sure. So, a very important thing, at the last of this video, you're going to get a little surprise. So, stay till the end and wait for that surprise. This episode was highly requested by you guys. I got a lot of requests from a lot of you people that I've been giving sessions to and over the comments and everywhere that we need a video on part B. What are the evaluation criteria? What are the do's and don'ts? What are the criteria of the level of sketch that is required for CEED, which is the most asked question across everyone. So in this episode, I'm going to break down all the 5 questions that we have in part B differently, separately, and talk about their do's and don'ts, the tips and tricks, the criteria, the evaluation criteria, and what is the level of sketch which is required for that particular question. So let's jump into the very first question, which is the perspective question. The biggest thing over here that the evaluators would be looking for is not just perspective, but your attention to details. If you clearly and very carefully read the questions of the previous years of perspective drawing, you'll notice that this question has been briefed out so well. Like, you'll have each and every detail of characters, the number of characters, their roles, their height, their expressions, the camera angle, the room size, everything. Like, everything has been mentioned in that question. And that is not something out of random. There is a reason behind it. They want to test your attention to detail, how much you read under the lines. So, very carefully, slowly read the question, mark those key things which are there, and then depict all of those things into your drawing. Now, how exactly you're going to approach this question is the very first thing. Start with a very light pencil and lay down your grid lines, your perspective lines, horizon, your characters, the whole sketch, the whole scenario of your room which is there, which has been asked in your question. Do that, but with a very light pencil. You can use a 2B or a HB pencil. You can use a mechanical pencil as well, but do not do it with a very dark pencil. So basically all I mean to say is avoid dark pencils for your construction lines, because it will be very difficult for you to erase them all, and that's a very important thing. Once you're done with your sketches, your fine lines, after that you can start with refining them with a darker pencil. Just make sure you're not using some sketch pen in order to refine those lines or outline or anything like that, because anything that leaves an impression on the back of your paper or the sheet, do not use that at all. You don't want to ruin your paper in any situation, in any case. So the last step would be refining your sketch. Add some light and shadows or some textures, or make an outline of your things, and at last erase all the hairy lines, erase all the grid lines, construction lines, and everything which is there. So always carry a very sharp edged eraser so that you are able to erase all those fine lines which are there. That's very important, so that's not what an evaluator would like to see. A bonus tip that I'd like to share with you guys: I recently reviewed one of the students' part B answer for a perspective question, and I was amazed with the elements that he has used in his perspective drawing. And I was like, this is what makes your answer stand out from others. So I'll give you some context. That question was around giving or drawing a perspective of a cashier in a bank, and everything from the perspective of a cashier in front of him, and there should be a queue of people and the whole bank situation. So everything was in place, every perspective was fine, the quality of lines were good. But that one thing which actually caught my eye was that the guy actually showed a desk of the cashier, and it had some few things on the desk, like we all do, right? Like in any corporate scenario, or even a government office scenario, I would rather say. It had pens lying around, there was notebook, there was a computer and the keyboard. But that one little small thing which was there, that was highlight, was a small idol of Ganeshji. And that was like, it was nowhere mentioned, but that, so that gives a lot of background, a lot of character, and a lot of personality to the whole, to the cashier itself. So it shows the character of the cashier, like maybe you are the cashier and what would you have on your desk. So that's so cool and that's so different, and this is what an evaluator will be looking for. Like, amaze them with few little elements in your answer. Give your sketches a character, a story. So, as I've always been saying, CEED Part B, the whole exam is not about sketching and drawing. It's more about storytelling. It's more about problems around us. It's about design thinking, not sketching. So make sure you tell these pretty little stories through your answers. Those can get you a lot of bonus marks. Now, let's jump into question number 2, which is creativity. This question is somewhere even I was very spectacle about, like very panicked situation I was always in, because this question demands something out of the box, something creative, right? And any random thing can come on the paper, right? You wouldn't be expecting that, and you'll have to think through it right at that single time. So, the one basic approach that I had for this question was, that's very obvious and very normal that in that situation where you have already come out of your part A mindset, sitting in part B mindset, it is a little difficult to think through a lot of out of the box ideas, definitely. But what helps is your idea bank that you have already with you from your practice, right? So practice so much that you build an idea bank for you, which you can use your exam. Pick those ideas from the bank and put it in your paper, right? Merge it or do a little bit of tweaks according to the paper and portray it there. So this is what I did. I used the last sheet of my answer sheet as a rough page where I showed all my processes, my approaches, my thinking of the answer. So as soon as I've read the question at the back of my answer sheet, I started writing the keywords. Okay, this is what is required. This is what I could depict from. I was building a story out of this. Like, what are the characters do I want to portray? Right. So show, if when you start writing, when you start sketching, you get ideas, you come up with ideas, it builds on those. So at least 2 to 3 minutes dedicate to your ideation. Show that ideation on paper, because this is what the evaluators would love to look at. Like, what was the process that led to from the question to the solution that you're giving them, right? So show them the process, and this is exactly what will make your answer stand out from others, that you went through a process. You didn't just jump from point A to point B, but rather it was a whole journey. Again, storytelling. So use the last page of your answer sheet as your rough area, or rather an ideation area. And on the page where you're drawing, on just at the bottom right or the top right, wherever you could find the space, very small text with an arrow that you can add saying that ideation done at last, something like that. So just like we used to do in 10th standard, right? Like rough done at last page, something like that. Same analogy. So very major source of inspiration for me for these questions were Pinterest. And now you also have AI. Use AI, guys, as much as you can to generate questions, to give answers, everything, whatever is possible. But yeah, Pinterest is another great source of a lot of creative ideas that you could capture from. So yes, for this question, make sure that you show the ideation for the solution that you're going to give. And make sure you're stitching a story across your creativity. That's more important. That is something that will give you marks. Yeah. Now, the third question, which is around visual sensitivity. So this question usually comes around iconography. Usually, I'm not saying will happen, but mostly in the previous year questions, it was around icons. So you should have some basic knowledge about icons, like the type of icons, how you can make grids for the icons, and everything around it. So the very basic thing about icons is it needs to be consistent, and that is one of the evaluation criteria. Make sure that your icons are as consistent as possible. They should look from the same family. It shouldn't be like one is a stroke icon and another is a solid icon. No. Study the question, understand what they're asking you, make sure that the big image has been simplified to the ground level. And that's what icons is about, and that's your challenge, making a complex thing into something very simple to understand and self-explanatory. That's your job, to make those icons consistent, of the same size, same shape, same family. They should look like brothers and sisters. It should have same corner radius. Like it shouldn't like one is rounded corners and another is edgy. No man. It everything should be similar and with the same line. So this question basically tests your eye for visual system, that whether you know how to make complex things simpler and depict them in a very simpler and in fact consistent form. So that's what you want. You have to show them, the evaluator, that you have that basic knowledge. Now, let's move on to the next question, which is around form sensitivity. One of my favorite questions. But anyways, so even in this question, right, like when I talked about showing the ideation and the processes, do that for every question. So you know what I did in my exam, the last sheet of my answer sheet, I sectioned them, and I dedicated each section for one of the questions. I divided them into 4 because I did not need ideation for perspective, but that totally depends on you. If you want to do something, ideate on that, do that. The whole sheet is yours. So yeah, I sectioned them and I started like dedicated question number 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. And over here, I started doing the ideation with whatever sequence I was attempting. So similarly, for product design, form sensitivity question, it basically asks you to come up with a form or come up with a product with a form that they want in, with some usability factors to it. So I've seen a lot of students doing this thing, that they just draw the sketch of that product. No, that's not all that you have to do. You need to show some functionality of that product. How is it usable to the users, right? So make sure that, take inspiration from Pinterest again. That's what I did, and it very beautifully arrange all the, like in the center there's isometric view of the product, and at the 4 corners there are features related to it and a zoomed in version of it. So take inspiration from Pinterest, practice those things, and just like one liner annotation, like this is what this feature, this is what this feature is, and this is what it is. That's all you need to do, but structure it in a very beautiful manner. So it's not just visuals, but rather function as well, and that's what is being tested over here. So make sure that the functionality is very clearly depicted. Also, one thing that you shouldn't do is fill up your paper with a lot of paragraphs, or paragraphs of about the features and what you can do with those features. No, just one line is enough. That's again a challenge for you, that you have to sum up everything in one line. This what this feature is, this is what this feature is, this is what this feature is, and this is what this feature is. That's it. And in the center there's this full beautiful isometric view of that product, right? That's how you get marks in this question particularly. Now, coming to the most misunderstood question, the problem identification. I've been telling this since the very first, that make sure in this question you are not directing to a solution. You have to stick to a problem. Let's see how we do that in our daily lives. As a designer, how do we approach a problem? We start with users. Who are our users? Who are our target audience? Right? We list that down. Then we do some research around what are the problems that they're facing, what are the challenges that they are facing in this particular situation, right? And then we define that one problem statement, right? It's the same that you have to do over here. You have been given a scenario, you have been given a context. Now pick up the users out of it. Who could be the possible users for this? For example, let's take a bus stand. So your users here are endless. It could be a person, male, female, elderly person, children, a differently abled person, people on wheelchair, anything, a visually impaired person, anything is possible. So these are your users. So in your rough sketch, list down your users. Like for this context, these are my users. Let's take another example. It could be of an ATM machine situated in a very abandoned area, right, in a very worse situation. Then who all are the users for this scenario? List them down. Now, next step, next process is to define what are the challenges these users will be facing. The challenges, like if it's a visually impaired person in a bus stand, how they are going to navigate. That's a challenge, right? So now you know the user, you know the problem, sketch that out. That's it, that's all you have to do. Don't think about, okay, there's no security camera, there is no stairs, there's no this, there's no that. This way you're depicting a solution, you're giving a solution, you're not telling a what's the problem, how are users facing the problem, and this is what this question is all about. So make sure that you show these ideation things, and whenever, if the question asks you to draw 5 problems, ideate at least 10, because the first 5 or 3 is going to be the most generic ones, like everyone would be thinking about the same thing. So yes, that was all, guys. That was everything that I could gather for you guys from my own experiences, from the talks that I've been having from a lot of seed rankers and my classmates and everyone. So I hope these help, these guidelines, these tips, everything helps you a lot. And keep practicing, don't panic at all. I'm sure you're going to do great. You have been doing so much effort, putting so much effort, doing all this hard work for this one single day. Everything will be worth it. So now, for those who stayed till the end, thank you so much, first of all, that you are till here. So definitely you deserve this surprise that I have got for you. So you know what, I've been thinking about this since a very long time, that I want to connect with you guys and would love to review your part B answers. So if you want to get any sort of review on your part B or part A, in fact, as well, mostly it's for part B though, then I'm sharing a link, a Google form link. Just fill them out, enter all your details that's been asked in that form, and then I'll revert back to you with the mail, and then we can have a one-on-one review rather, where whatever questions that you have, like you can get reviews for your part B questions from me, and we can have a discussion on anything that you want to have, and it's all free of cost. So just fill in the Google form and see you next week. So if you have any other doubts, drop in your comments. If you have any other thing that you want me to come up with, drop in the comments and connect with me anywhere, Instagram, LinkedIn, Talkmate, wherever you want. So see you in the next episode. All the very best.